Greetings, my dear friends. Rivers don't vote, they don't negotiate, but they can change the destiny of nations. The Indus Water Treaty is often called a treaty which has survived the most difficult times. It survived the 1965 war with Pakistan, the 1971 war, the Kargil operations, the Mumbai 2611. It also survived the Balakot attack by India, decades and decades of terrorism. Yet, following the Pahalgam attack, India announced that it is going to keep the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. This was a fundamental change as far as India's strategic thinking is concerned. This assertion set the cat among the pigeons. In Pakistan, especially, where there was a major meltdown. Pakistan has since gone into a major overdrive, setting a narrative that calls India's actions as unjustified, one sided, and weaponizing of water. It has issued dire threats ranging from bombing India's dams, rattling the nuclear saber, or even cutting off hands of Indians who dare to touch Pakistani waters. It has internationalized the issue by running to the World Bank, where it met with a refusal. The International Court of Arbitration at The Hague, and India asserted that this court has no jurisdiction as far as this bilateral treaty is concerned. It went to the UNSC, where again India said the UNSC has no jurisdiction here. It went ahead and called out a international conference in Islamabad on the 30th of June, where the Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan, Ishaq Dar, criticized India's suspension of the treaty, warning that this could set a dangerous precedent. It ran to China. Pakistani newspapers carried out a narrative. They're building this narrative that India is drying out Pakistan. Indian channels were not too far behind. But will Pakistan actually run dry? Can India really choke Pakistan's waters? Can India stop Pakistan from supporting terrorism, a policy it has been following for a long, long time? Welcome, my dear friends, to ChaxSimplifies. I, Commander Chakrapan, your Chax. I'm your host, and this is your channel where we demystify complex geopolitical issues to easily digestible small bites. In this, we start with a new series of geopolitics of water, where we will examine water issues between nations India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, India, China, and in a final episode, consolidate all of them before we move on to the maritime dimension as far as India is concerned. Let us start with our radioactive neighbor, Pakistan. In this episode, we will examine what is the real reality. Is Pakistan's crisis due to India, or is it decades and decades of internal mismanagement? Why is Pakistan increasingly beating water as a war drum? Has India really violated the Indus Water Treaty? Can India stop Pakistan's waters? And finally, the long geopolitical questions, the geopolitics of water. The Indus Water Basin is among the world's largest basins, encompassing about 1.1 million square kilometers, supporting one of the world's largest contiguous irrigation systems. The river originates in the Tibetan Plateau, traverses Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, and then into Pakistan before emptying itself into the Arabian Sea. It supports over 300 million people across both countries. The hydrology is driven by the Himalayan snowmelt, glacial runoffs, and the South Asian monsoons, making it both strategically vital and climatically sensitive. The Indus River itself, along with Jhelum and Chenab, forms the western rivers which were allocated to Pakistan under the Indian Indus Water Treaty, while Ravi, Beas, and Satluj form the eastern rivers allocated to India. I had earlier made a video on the Indus Water Treaty and the system. Please view the link in the description below and view that video for greater details. Pakistan is really speaking very well endowed with water. Only 16 countries globally have more water than Pakistan. 32 countries with less water have a GDP which is more than 10 times the size of Pakistan. Pakistan did do interbasin transfers to take Indus water into Lahore, Sialkot, Gujranwala, all dry areas, relatively dry areas of Punjab, and India paid for them under the Indus Water Treaty. Water consumption in Pakistan is dominated by agriculture. 20% of the GDP comes from Pakistan, from agriculture. The major crops are wheat, rice, cotton, and sugarcane, all water intensive. They consume 80% of water, contribute only 5% to the GDP, yet 65% of the population depends on agriculture. Flooding and drainage problems increase due to the lower basin has been entirely built with embankments, and they do not allow water or the rivers to meander and may take their own course all over again. Pakistan has not built any knowledge base as far as the river water system is concerned. Poor maintenance, governance deficit add to these problems. The World Bank, in its report in 2005 and thereafter in 2019, called the water economy running dry, highlighted what Pakistan is not doing, what it must do, and it also came up with cost estimates. The World Bank foresaw this 20 years back. Pakistan has still not. Yet Pakistan dreams of becoming a middle power. It wants to bring in global international peace broker while their own nation continued drying. It's not because India has turned off the water. The crisis is self-driven, from population to climate, from storage capacity to irrigation infrastructure, groundwater depletion to politics. The irony of the thing is, water management budget allocation for 26-27 is almost 30% less than the previous year, while the military budget is the largest in history. Let's take each of the problems one by one. Let's start with population. Pakistan's population today is about 259 million. It's the world's fifth largest populous country. It adds 4 to 5 million people annually, growing at a rate of approximately 2.5%. This is the largest among large Asian nations. India, in contrast, is at 0.9. The global average is 0.8. The higher TFR of Pakistan, that is total fertility rate, is 3.5. India is at 2.0. Since 2006, Pakistan's population has increased by 45%, India by just 26. The median age of Pakistan is 22 years, while India is approximately 29. The population of Pakistan is slated to cross 390 million by the year 2050. This has rapidly eroded the per capita economic gains and the per capita water availability. The crisis, you will understand, is started well before 2026. Pakistan's per capita water availability in 2050 was approximately 5,600 meter cube per person per year. Today, it is below 850. The international benchmark says at 1700 there is water stress. At 1000 meter cube is water scarcity. Pakistan is well below the scarcity threshold. This significantly enhances the water stress, especially in Sindh, where the river is drying up, In Punjab, which needs water, it lays the foundation for all types of interstate disputes between Sindh and Punjab. Massive drinking water shortages to the extent that 80% of the population does not have access to clean water. To add it all, Pakistan has storage issues. Its greatest vulnerability is its inability to store water from the periods where there is abundance of water as far as to carry it forward to the dry seasons. It built no major dams after Tarbela and Mangala, those also in 1940s and 1950s. It's highly dependent on snowmelt and monsoon, vulnerable to therefore both droughts and floods. Indus carries a large amount of sediment. That's because it's a Himalayan river. This sediment comes in and deposits itself because it cannot flow further beyond the dam. Dams have to be desilted. Pakistan has not desilted its dams, and both Tarbela and Mangala are operating at approximately 20% of their storage capacity. This challenge has persisted for decades and it affects Pakistan's buffer stock. To add it all, the water does not reach the ultimate farmer. It goes into the canals. The canals are silted because they have not been managed so well, and conveyance losses are almost at 40%. That's because of heavy silting, like I said, the rise in the canal bed, and the water overflows past the embankment, resulting in significant seepage. Evaporation. Don't forget, it's a dry country, it's a hot country, and illegal diversions. The Green Pakistan initiative has taken away even more water because Pakistan, in its wisdom, decided that they wanted to green the Cholistan desert area. This was under the watch of the current Field Marshal Munir. The Indus River Delta is shrinking. It was once the world's largest and the most productive deltas. Today, because of the fact that not enough water is carried by the Indus, seawater has started coming in. As a result, there is mangrove degradation, loss of agricultural land, seawater intrusion leading to salination or extra salination, making the soil unusable as far as agriculture is concerned. Naturally, people have left from here and the biodiversity has degraded. Climate change is the ultimate disaster for Pakistan. It spells disaster with a capital D all through. The greater impacts of El Nino, La Nina, the Indian Ocean dipole all lead to more and more erratic monsoons. Global warming is causing glacial melt and a consequent retreat of glaciers. Changes in the monsoon timings as a result of lesser storage capacity in dams, they have to let go water when it comes, gives floods and then droughts. Therefore, Pakistan needs to do something about it. It does not is a different story. Did Pakistan think about something for the future? Yes, it did. There is a Jhelum link tunnel project, which is a run of the river hydroelectric power project started by China. It envisages a tunnel which bypasses a bend in the Jhelum River, getting water directly towards Muzaffarabad. What has happened actually? What happened out here is the tunnels collapsed. Ultimately, Chinese expertise, Chinese material, and Chinese plan. It had major engineering flaws which resulted in a rock burst. Revival seems uncertain. With China, it came up with a major project which is called the Indus Cascade Project with the dam called Daimar Basha. It's actually a series of 5 dams at Bunji, Daimar Basha, Dasu, Patan, and Tanot. Installed capacity over 40 gigawatts. Budgetary allocations even smaller. and they get smaller year by year. It was projected to finish by 2026, nowhere near completion. At the current rate, the Pakistan may be lucky to get it done by 2036. Add to the situation in Gilgit-Baltistan and the fact that India has held the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, thereby the water availability out here may well be erratic, uncertain, and not at the time they want. The project progress prognosis doesn't seem great. Pakistan faces a greater threat. The one river that comes from Afghanistan, which flows into the Indus River, is Kabul. Afghanistan wants to make a series of 11 dams on the Kabul River. When that happens, the Indus water will further dry up. For Pakistan, water equals national security. It depends on the Indus basin for a lot. 80% of agriculture, significant share of food production. But don't forget, Pakistan was a food surplus state till about 2020. After COVID, it is progressively more and more food deficient. Our generation is low. It has not invested in water management, despite being well endowed in water. What's the answer? Blame India. And that is the basic trouble as far as Pakistan is concerned. Let's have a small look at what China claims it is the upper riparian state as far as India is concerned for both Indus as well as Brahmaputra. If you look at the Indus does start in China. It's a very small river there, and it continues into India again as a much smaller river. It's only after it joins up with Zanskar does it get bigger. But by then, Indus is almost ready to get into Pakistan. On the other hand, Brahmaputra originates at Yarling Sangpo, goes over the upper reaches of Himalayas, the the Tibetan plateau, before it enters India in Arunachal. However, less than 20% of water comes in or it takes up water there. A major part of water, over 80%, is accumulated within India. China, really speaking, cannot do much. So, after Pahalgam, Prime Minister Modi said blood and water cannot flow together and declared the Indus Water Treaty is now in abeyance. Was this a sudden decision? Absolutely not. On 25th of Jan 2023, India initiated a conversation with Pakistan wanting to renegotiate the treaty, citing majorly changed situations on ground. On 30th August 2024, it reiterated its position and asked for renegotiation, met with silence. Pakistan chose to ignore this request. Therefore, when India took the measures from suspension of normal treaty obligations, reduced information sharing, reduction or review of water infrastructure within India, and a promise to itself that it will fully utilize all the waters of the eastern rivers allocated to it and fully utilize its share of the western river waters, there should be no surprise. But has India, really speaking, violated the treaty? Absolutely not. The current situation, the rivers are flowing. They continue to flow. There is no major diversion as that infrastructure does not exist in India today. Most existing projects, especially on the western rivers, are run-off river projects. Pakistan continues to receive more than its allocated share of western waters. India does lack the capacity to store and divert, and therefore not much is likely in the next or the immediate future. If you look at it as far as engineering is concerned, can India really turn off the tap? The short answer is no. Because rivers are dynamic systems, they're not pipelines. They cannot be just turned on and turned off. India has to create this storage. This river water volume is seasonal, sometimes very high, sometimes hardly anything. Existing dams are not storage reservoirs. They have relatively small pondage, which ensures that they can cover for some amount of variability to allow hydropower generation to take place. India's leverage is not turning off water. India's leverage is in variability of this water. When do you release the water and at what time and how much? India desilted all its dams in the past few months after the holding Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, and that has helped India as far as increasing its storage capacity is concerned. It will thereafter develop infrastructure for the purpose. So, in India's strategic leverage is basically at the present moment of time diplomatic signaling. It is creating doubt, creating variability, creating suspense in Pakistani minds. It's reduced the information sharing because it is not governed by the IWT anymore. In the long term, expanded storage within the permissible engineering limit will increase the variability as far as Pakistan is concerned, get more hydropower generation as far as India is concerned, and India will improve basin management to be able to improve water availability and groundwater recharging as far as for India. India's principal leverage is prospective, not immediate. India's roadmap, therefore, for water is very simple. Maximize its own share of eastern rivers, complete whatever river projects are pending for the long time on the western rivers, and improve basin management. So let's see what India is doing. Let's look at the western rivers front first. The most important here is the Chenab Beas Link project, which envisages a 8.7-kilometer long tunnel to transfer some of Beas's water. Beas in India is called the Bipasa, and Chenab is called the Chandrabhaga. So you want to take water from Chenab into Beas. This is an interbasin transfer. Chenab has approximately 35 million acre feet of water. 1 million acre feet is what will get diverted into Beas. And this will happen at Lahore Spiti area, far away from the Pakistani borders. The Sawalkot project on Chenab is the first major Indus River project approved after the Indus Water Treaty was suspended. It will generate almost 2 gigawatts, 1.86 gigawatts to be accurate, and will cost approximately 2,31,000 crore rupees. It is located in the Ramban district of Jammu and Kashmir and is expected to be completed in 2032. There are a number of other projects from Kirthai to Dulhasti, Baglehar to Salal, Pakalkuldul to Ratle, Kiru, China, and more important is the Chenab Tavi River link. This will be near Akhnur to get water into the Jammu city. Chenab, no wonder you'll realize, is a river which is key or the cornerstone as far as India's clean energy strategy is concerned. It cannot be tamed, but it can be regulated. It carries humongous amounts of water in the rainy season and much less in the summer. Full effects of this will unfold only between 2028 and 2032. It will enhance India's control over 20% of what it has been allocated in the western rivers. It will create much greater vulnerability, variability for Pakistan. Let's take a look at Jhelum now. The Kohala hydroelectric project, the Wular barrage, the Tulbul navigation, something which was being held back by Pakistan, despite the fact that all the water which would be diverted before the Cooler Lake would get back into Pakistan. Yet Pakistan had problems with it. The Ratnag hydroelectric project are all on the river Jhelum. All of them are by and large run-of-river projects, not much of storage. The Indus, remember I said that the Indus does not really speaking collect too much water in India. There's very limited dams and hydroelectric projects that are coming up. They're all small projects, as shown in the slide. Let's take a look at the eastern rivers now. Bias. There are a number of projects as far as Bias is concerned, including the Bias Bhakra, the Bhakra Nangal, the management board, which is looking after a number of these projects. The Chenab Bias link we spoke about, the Bias Sutlej link, which will divert excess water or surplus water of Bias through the Panor Dam into the Sutlej River. The Poong Dam, the Indira Gandhi Nehar project, the Bias River Conservation Reserve will add as to our ability to control water. The Ravi has Shapur Kandi dams, the Ranjit Sagar Dam or the Theen Dam, the Chamara hydroelectric projects, the Madhapur headworks, which will be able to divert water from the upper Bari Doab Canal and the Madhapur Bias link, facilitating water transfer to the neighboring basins for better agricultural usage. On the Sutlej, there are a number of dams, a series of dams called the Shantung Karchang, the Lori Hydropower Cascade Project, the Sunni Dam, the Lori Dam, and the Jangi Thopan Pauri Hydroelectric Project. National Waterway Project 98 is nearing completion. And the Sutlej Saraswati Water Diversion Scheme will in some ways try to revive the Saraswati water basin, which has vanished over time. So what happens next? The harsh reality has started biting. Water and Indus are lifeline or bloodline as far as Pakistan is concerned, and Pakistan is now paying for its lack of attention over decades, assuming water will continue to flow and India will never stop it. Pakistan irrigation is failing because of this. Can you imagine in Pakistan, in the city of Islamabad, there have been riots because no wheat is available, flour is not available. Pakistan's dams can generate electricity only when there is sufficient water. But sufficient water all year round, unlikely. No major dams, no major infrastructure, not even desilting of dams. It's actually reduced its budgetary allocations as far as water management is concerned. Because of all this, major dams like the Daimar Basha will take far more time than they were originally envisaged. Given the limitations of this water and the fact that Pakistan-China relations seem to be going southwards, will China invest? A short piece on legal liabilities. Many in Pakistan say that the IWT cannot be abrogated, cannot go into suspension. It is legally, morally incorrect. But the reality is numerous treaties have collapsed or have outlived their life. The SALT, the START, the Budapest Memorandum, which was for non-invasion of Ukraine, the Open Skies Treaty, which collapsed in 2021-22, the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. Brexit happened. Any bilateral treaty, one nation can always walk out of it. India gave 2 years notice to Pakistan. Our treaties do have exit clauses. There could be an expiry date, could be mutual consent, or when circumstances change dramatically. India spoke about it. Therefore, can water cause a war? Well, probably not, but it can increase political tensions. It can influence crucial decision making. It can become a coercive diplomatic issue, and it can amplify the fact that there are security disputes. As far I think, strategically, if one has to examine this treaty, it's very clear that this treaty has lost its political sanctity. For 6 decades, it ran without a stop. As Pakistan assumed that India will continue, that has not happened. Because strategically, Pakistan started using terror and India is using what it has. India's leverage is time. It cannot stop Pakistan's water. But in the next 10 to 20 years, by improving water management, investments in storage, hydropower generation, and forecasting, basin management, it can increase its strategic flexibility. Pakistan will still collapse whether India does something or not. India, really speaking, has to do nothing except sit on a chair, sip nimbu pani, and watch Pakistan dry up. Pakistan's threat, on the other hand, is internal. Its vulnerabilities are not from India, they are from poor water governance, poor storage, groundwater depletion, provincial disputes, inefficiencies in agriculture, and climate vulnerability. None of it India has any role to play. Pakistan will have to reform. Climate is becoming a major player in this part of the world. Historically, the discussions centered on India and Pakistan. Climate is now the third major actor, possibly more influential than any of the other two. Glacial retreats, changing monsoon patterns, extreme weather effect, both of them more so in Pakistan. Water has become a national security issue. Debate has moved beyond, well beyond the engineers and irrigation departments. They now involve the Prime Minister, the foreign ministers, the defense establishments, intelligence agencies, including National Security Council. Water security is now a major part of strategic planning. So, what is the future as far as the Indus Water Treaty is concerned? Even if it gets renegotiated, it returns to its original framework. The basin of 2060 or 2040 or even 2030 will not resemble the basin of 1960. That is a major fundamental change. There are four futures that I can envisage as far as the Indus Water Treaty is concerned. From restoration of treaty with some or limited modification to cooperative basin management by both governments. What is likely? Well, time will tell. But what is most important to remember is rivers obey gravity, not politics. Geography changes slowly, but geopolitics can change overnight. Engineering determines the capability, diplomacy determines intent, and Indus water dispute is no longer about water. It's now about resilience, about sovereignty, about choices, strategic choices. The real question is not whether India can stop Pakistan's water. The real question is, can Pakistan continue to feed a population that is going to approach 300 million soon enough with a water management system designed in 1960s under increasing climate stress? So, my dear friends, we continue living in very interesting times. If you approve of the video, do leave a like. Please do comment. Also, please hide the video. As always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so, and click the bell icon to be notified of any new videos. Do feel free to share this video with your family, with your friends, and as always, I look forward to your support and suggestions. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.